Cold Brewing Podcast. We're back in the seat with some hot fire here. This week, it's in the 99% Invisible feed. Roman Mars and Elliot Kalin, they're doing a series, kind of like a read-through of The Power Broker, which is a biography of Robert Moses by Robert Caro. And the first episode actually has the author on it, which was amazing. And this is a book I've never actually read, but I know about. Robert Moses was basically like the most powerful man in New York who got all this stuff done, which is true. And like, it's, but it really digs into just like the way that power actually works and operates and how slimy it was and like the devastation that like he caused. And it's kind of just like one man's ego and like need for power and sticking to like a certain thing, what it kind of leads to. Especially, he was like huge in building roads, and this is the area that like every single road and highway, the planners are like, it could go through this one farmland, or it could go through this entire poor neighborhood, mostly filled with black residents. What should we do? And so I think in this series they kind of talked about it, and the conservative estimate was that Robert Moses basically kicked like 500,000 people out of their homes. And this was back in like the 40s, 50s, I think is the era. And the one part that really struck with me from one of the episodes, there's only 2 out right now. Highly recommend listening to them, especially if you're like, why is everyone so mad about America and talk like everything's broken? These are one of the reasons that things are broken, Robert Moses. And then there's just like thousands of little Robert Moseses out there in power, through a lot of stuff. But anyway, the one part that really stuck with me is Robert Caro, when he was doing this, he interviewed some of the people that got displaced by him. And what really stuck with him was them just talking about how lonely they now were and how much the new places that they lived, like there wasn't the same sense of community, and just like how getting displaced is like a really traumatic thing. And it sticks with me. I think about loneliness a lot, and I'm an asshole for saying this, but I don't think loneliness is really something I've experienced much of in my life. And I know it's about context. Like you can be in a room full of people and be lonely. And I think some people have probably thought that I'm like a very lonely person, which I love my solitude, my alone time. But I've also, clearly, if you are seeing me on Instagram, you know, my life is like very filled with abundance. And a lot of that is just by random chance of being in this big family, knowing a lot of people, and having whatever personality I have that people tend to gravitate towards me, which is cool. It's cool. I'm not complaining. It's very cool. But I think deeply about loneliness too, because I know how awful it is, and like it has such serious health effects, and we are such a lonely society. And there's a lot of actual tangible things that cause that, and there's things that could have been done that wouldn't cause that. I don't have the answers. I just listen to podcasts. And now I kind of talk about them sometimes. So anyway, check out The Power Broker. I really enjoyed the episodes, and you might learn a thing or two.